The planet Rhinora never saw sunlight. Thick clouds of gray gas covered the skies, and the land was nothing but rock, dust, and cold wind. Deep underground, long tunnels stretched for miles, the crystal mines. Inside those tunnels, the air was hot, heavy, and filled with glowing blue dust. That dust came from the energy crystals, the most valuable resource in the galaxy. But for the girls who worked there, those glowing crystals were nothing but chains. Every day, hundreds of young girls were forced to dig, scrape, and haul heavy stones. Their hands were cut, their backs bent, and their faces were pale from the lack of light. They wore thin uniforms, torn and dirty, and metal collars around their necks that buzzed with a faint red light. The collars could shock them if they slowed down. The aliens who ruled Rhinora were called the Scaran. They were tall, with gray skin and long claws. Their black armor reflected the blue glow of the mines, and their cold eyes never blinked. To them, the girls were not people. They were just tools to dig up the energy crystals that powered their warships. The guards shouted orders in a sharp, metallic voice. "Faster, the quota is not met." A whip cracked. A girl stumbled, her pickaxe clanging against the wall. A moment later, a spark from her collar made her scream. The sound echoed through the tunnels like a cruel melody. Pain, fear, and silence. Among the workers, whispers traveled like small sparks of hope. "Did you hear?" Someone new came to the edge of the mining zone. A human. No human would come here. They all left after the invasion. "They say he's not like the others. They say he has a child." The girls whispered these things while their hands kept working, too afraid to stop. But even whispers can carry far in the mines, and sometimes, hope is enough to make people look toward the dark tunnel and wonder what's out there. Far above, near the surface, a man walked across the barren rocks. His name was Daniel Hale. Once he was an engineer on a human colony ship that never made it home. Years ago, that ship crashed on Rhinora. He was one of the few survivors. He lost everything, except his little daughter, Luna. Daniel had lived quietly since then, fixing machines and trading small parts for food. The Scaran ignored him as long as he stayed out of their way. But lately, something had changed. The guards patrolled closer to his shelter, and the sound of the mine drills grew louder every night. He could see the red glow of their control towers in the distance, like eyes watching him. He knew something terrible was happening underground. He just didn't know how close it had come. One evening, Daniel noticed Luna wasn't home. Her small boots were missing. The door to their shelter was open, swinging gently in the wind. On the table, he found a small light crystal, glowing blue, something no child should have. His heart stopped. He ran outside, shouting her name, but the desert only echoed back his own voice. He looked toward the mines where black smoke curled into the sky. He knew then that she must have wandered too close, and the Scaran took her. For a long moment, Daniel stood still. The cold wind bit his face. The silence around him felt endless. Then he whispered to himself, "No more running." He packed what little he had, a torch, an old tool belt, and a small energy cell from his broken ship. He looked at Luna's small toy, a wooden bird he carved years ago, and placed it in his pocket. That night, when the twin moons rose over Rhinora, Daniel walked toward the mines. The guards didn't see him at first. He moved like a shadow between the rocks. The mine entrance was lit by harsh red lights, and the sound of drills filled the air. The ground trembled under his feet. He looked down into the main shaft, where a lift carried workers deeper into the earth. He saw the girls, tired, silent, afraid. He saw the collars on their necks glowing faintly. And for the first time, he saw what the Scaran had done to this world. As the lift descended, Daniel stepped out from behind a pillar. His face was calm, but his eyes were hard. The nearest guard turned toward him, confused. "You shouldn't be here, human," the alien hissed. Daniel didn't answer. He took one step forward, then another. Behind him, the wind howled across the barren rocks, and the sound of the mines grew louder. For years, no one had ever dared to enter the tunnels alone. But that night, one man did, and in the cold darkness below, something began to change. The mines of Rhinora never slept. Machines drilled through stone day and night, and the air smelled of metal and dust. For most workers, time had no meaning anymore. Only pain marked the hours. But that night, something strange happened. The hum of the drills stopped for a second, and all the lights flickered. The guards growled, thinking it was a power issue. They didn't know that far above, at the edge of the mining zone, a single human had just entered their world of darkness. Daniel Hale stood at the entrance, looking down into the endless black tunnels. The wind behind him whispered across the rocks, but inside it was silent. Too silent. He could feel the heat from the mining vents brushing against his face, mixed with the sharp smell of ozone. The faint blue glow from the crystals painted his hands in ghostly light. He took a deep breath and whispered to himself, "Hang on, Luna. I'm coming." His heart was pounding, but his steps were steady. He moved through the tunnel with quiet purpose, his hand gripping an old wrench like a weapon. Every sound echoed. The drip of water, the creak of metal, the distant clank of machinery. Somewhere below he could hear voices, weak and tired. The sound of chains being dragged. He followed the echoes deeper, guided by instinct and fear. Daniel had once worked on starships. He knew how to read systems, how to survive in harsh worlds. But this place, this was worse than anything he had ever seen. The Scaran had turned the planet's heart into a prison. Every tunnel he passed revealed more horror. Girls digging crystals with bleeding hands, guards shocking anyone who stumbled. He wanted to scream, but he knew he couldn't. Not yet. A small movement caught his eye. A young girl hiding behind a broken machine. Her face was dirty, her eyes wide. Daniel crouched beside her. She looked ready to run. "It's okay," he whispered. "I'm human. I'm not with them." The girl stared for a moment, then spoke in a shaking voice. "They took her. The small one. They said she was new." Daniel's chest tightened. "Where did they take her?" The girl pointed down a narrow tunnel where the light was darker, almost red. The deep shafts. "The air burns there. No one comes back." The deeper Daniel went, the worse it became. The walls were covered with glowing crystal veins, pulsing faintly like the heartbeat of the planet. Strange machines hung from the ceiling, sucking energy from the rock. The Scaran had built something massive here, something dangerous. He saw more children, some too weak to stand. The guards didn't care. They laughed as they whipped them to keep working. Daniel's blood boiled. His hand tightened around the wrench. One of the guards turned, catching the flicker of movement. "Who's there?" It hissed, its yellow eyes scanning the shadows. Daniel moved fast. He grabbed a loose pipe from the floor and swung. The sound echoed, metal against bone. The alien dropped instantly. Before the others could react, Daniel was gone, disappearing deeper into the tunnel. He moved like a ghost, striking, vanishing, striking again. Years of survival had made him quiet and clever. He stole a shock baton from a fallen guard and studied it carefully. Simple tech. Dangerous but unstable. He could use that. For the first time in years, Daniel felt something burn inside him. Not just fear, but purpose. When he finally reached the lower chamber, he froze. The ceiling was high, filled with orange lights, and in the center stood a huge machine spinning slowly. Around it, the youngest workers were chained, using their energy to keep it running. The heat was unbearable, the air thick with blue smoke, and there, near one of the crystal piles, was a small shape lying on the ground. Daniel rushed forward, his heart breaking. "Luna!" The little girl lifted her head weakly. Her face was pale, her hair covered in dust. She smiled faintly. "Dad, you came." He pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "I'll get you out. I promise." But before he could move, the sound of footsteps echoed behind him. Heavy, metallic, steady. He turned slowly. A tall Scaran commander stepped out of the smoke, its eyes glowing red. "So," it hissed, "a human rat crawls into my mine." Daniel stood up, keeping Luna behind him. He didn't speak. The alien smiled, a sharp, cold smile, and raised its staff. The red light from the crystals reflected in its armor. For a moment, time stood still. The heat, the smoke, the heartbeat in Daniel's chest, all froze. Then the commander said, "Let's see how strong humans really are." The shock baton in Daniel's hand sparked to life. Blue light danced across his face. And deep in the heart of Renora, where no one had ever dared to fight back, a single human took his first step toward war. The commander's hiss echoed through the mine chamber. The red light from the crystals flickered, casting long shadows on the walls. Daniel's grip on the shock baton tightened. He stood between the alien and his daughter, his mind racing. The Scaran raised its staff and a beam of red energy shot forward. Daniel dove to the side, pulling Luna with him. The beam hit the wall, bursting the crystals into a shower of glowing dust. The explosion lit the whole chamber like a storm of fireflies. The alien laughed. Weak flesh. You think you can fight us? Daniel didn't answer. He pressed a button on the baton and a crack of blue light flashed. He lunged forward, striking the alien's chest. Sparks flew. The creature screamed, electricity crawling up its armor. The machine behind them shook violently. Alarms wailed. The power in the mine began to flicker. Daniel grabbed Luna and ran. The tunnel shook as he climbed up the nearest shaft, the sound of guards shouting behind him. For a long time there was only running, the echo of footsteps, the heartbeat in his ears. He didn't stop until the air grew cooler and the lights dimmer. He found an old maintenance room, dusty and half-collapsed. He set Luna down on a crate and checked her collar. It was hot from the energy burns, but not active. He sighed with relief. "Dad," Luna whispered, her voice weak. "Why are they doing this?" Daniel looked at her and his heart ached. Because they've forgotten what mercy is. He sat beside her thinking. The Scaran weren't just mining for energy. They were mining people. Something deeper was happening here. Something worse. He needed answers. When Luna fell asleep, Daniel slipped back into the tunnels. He moved carefully, avoiding patrols. The deeper levels were quieter now, guarded only by drones. As he passed through a damaged security gate, he found a control chamber, walls covered with glowing panels and data screens. He brushed off the dust and read the alien script. He didn't know the language fully, but engineering symbols were the same across worlds. One word caught his eye: conversion protocol. A shiver ran down his spine. He opened the file. Images appeared, diagrams of human bodies, energy readings, glowing veins. The Scaran were using the crystal energy to change living beings, to drain their life and fuse it with the minerals. The girls weren't just slaves. They were fuel. Daniel stepped back, his stomach turning. On one screen he saw a chart labeled Test Subjects Human Juvenile, and under it, a code number matching Luna's collar. His fists clenched. His voice shook. Monsters! He began to search the room, desperate for anything he could use. He found old tools, broken tech, and a portable energy coil, a small device that could disable power grids if used right. It was dangerous, unstable, but it could work. He also found a communicator. He tuned it to low frequency and listened. Voices crackled through. Alien commands, schedules, and then something unexpected. Sector 12. Human sighting confirmed. All units prepare for containment. Bring the child alive. They were hunting him. Daniel turned off the device and exhaled slowly. His time was short. He returned to Luna, shaking her gently. We have to move, she blinked sleepily. Where are we going? To find the others, he said. We can't do this alone. They crept through the lower tunnels until they reached a large cavern where dozens of girls worked. Their faces were dull, eyes empty. When they saw Daniel, they froze. No one had ever come for them before. One of them, a tall girl with soot on her face, stepped forward. You shouldn't be here. They'll kill you. Daniel looked around. They already tried. He knelt beside a broken generator, pulled out the energy coil, and started connecting wires. I can shut down the collars, he said. But when I do, you have to run. All of you. The girls exchanged uncertain looks. Years of fear had taught them not to believe in hope. But when Luna stepped forward, holding her father's hand, and said softly, He can help us, something shifted in their eyes. For the first time, they didn't just feel fear. They felt a spark. Daniel worked quickly, sweat dripping from his face. The machine hummed, its lights turning red. Sparks flew. The control collars on the girls flickered once, then went dark. A silence fell over the cavern. Then, for the first time in years, the girls looked up, not at the floor, but at the world beyond. Run, Daniel said. Run and don't look back. As they moved, alarms blared again. The mine began to shake. The Scaran were coming. Daniel grabbed Luna and looked at the tunnel ahead, a narrow path glowing with red warning lights. This isn't over, he whispered. Not until we burn this place to the ground. He disappeared into the shadows once more, carrying his daughter and a plan that would change Rhinora forever. The mines of Rhinora had changed. The air still smelled of metal and dust, but there was something new. A whisper, a spark of rebellion. The Scaran guards didn't notice it yet. They thought fear was stronger than hope. They were wrong. In the tunnels where light rarely reached, a human father was building something the Scaran could not understand. A plan. Daniel Hale worked in silence, hidden inside a broken maintenance chamber deep below the mine. The walls were cracked, the floor covered in cables and metal scraps. To most, it was a dead place, but to Daniel it was a workshop. He sat beside a flickering lamp, his hands moving quickly. Broken tools, stolen parts, and shattered alien tech lay in front of him. He was building small metal spheres, crude, dented, but powerful. Luna sat beside him, watching quietly. "What are those, Dad?" "Little surprises," Daniel said softly. "They'll help us shut down the collars, and maybe give those monsters a scare." He smiled faintly, though his eyes looked tired. Each night he slept less. Each day more girls joined them in secret, carrying stolen wires, scraps of power cells, and bits of crystal. They trusted him now. He didn't call it an army. He called it a chance. Among the group was Rhea, the tall girl Daniel had met before. She had once been a miner, but now she led the girls in the tunnels, passing messages and hiding supplies. She moved like a shadow, fearless and quiet. One night, Rhea entered the workshop. "They're increasing patrols," she said. "The commander knows someone's helping the workers." Daniel nodded without looking up. "Then we move faster." Rhea frowned. "You're just one man, Daniel. You can't fight an army." Daniel looked up at her. His face was covered in dust and grease, but his eyes burned like fire. "Maybe not, but I can light something that will burn brighter than their fear." She didn't answer, but her lips curved slightly. "Then we'll help you light it." Every night, Daniel taught the girls how to build and hide the devices. They learned fast. Their hands were used to tools, even if their lives had been full of pain. Together, they turned broken mining tools into weapons, power coils into traps, and old tunnels into escape routes. They worked in the shadows, whispering, planning, preparing. The Scaran guards never noticed the missing parts or the quiet changes in routine. They didn't see the looks the girls shared, the silent nods of unity. They thought humans were weak, soft creatures who broke easily. They didn't know what it meant to be desperate. One evening, Daniel and Luna climbed up to an old ventilation shaft that looked out over the mining zone. From there, they could see everything. The drills, the guards, the endless tunnels glowing blue in the dark. "Do you remember Earth?" Luna asked suddenly. Daniel's hands paused. He looked at her small face, pale in the dim light. "I remember the sea," he said softly. "The smell of rain, the sound of waves hitting the rocks. Will we ever see it again?" He didn't answer right away. The truth was heavy in his chest. Finally, he said, "If we can't see it, maybe we can build something better, right here." Luna smiled, and for a moment the darkness felt less heavy. 2 nights later, Rhea returned with bad news. They found one of the tunnels. A patrol followed our tracks. "They're close." Daniel stood slowly. "Then we launch the plan tomorrow." Rhea's eyes widened. "Tomorrow? We're not ready." "We'll never be ready," Daniel said. "But if we wait any longer, they'll find us all." He looked around at the tired but determined faces. The girls who had once been slaves, now holding tools like weapons. "We strike when they least expect it," he said, "when the night is darkest." That night, as the red moon rose over Rhinora, Daniel walked alone through the tunnels one last time. The mines hummed quietly, unaware of what was coming. He placed small metal spheres in hidden corners behind generators, near power conduits beside guard stations. Each one was wired to an energy cell, unstable but strong. As he worked, he whispered to himself, "For Luna, for them all." When he returned, Rhea was waiting. "Everything set?" He nodded. "When the lights go out, that's the signal." She handed him a small pendant, a piece of crystal on a string. "For luck," she said. Daniel smiled faintly. "We'll make our own luck." Above them, the Scaran guards laughed and drank, unaware that beneath their feet a storm was gathering. The humans had no armor, no ships, no reinforcements. But they had something the Scaran never would: hope. And hope, when trapped in darkness, becomes something explosive. The night on Rhinora was silent, too silent. The red moon hung above the mines like a bleeding wound, its light falling across the jagged rocks and the endless tunnels below. Deep underground, hundreds of girls waited in the shadows, their eyes wide with fear and hope. The air trembled with the faint hum of power, the steady rhythm of machines, and the whisper of something about to change. And then, everything went dark. For a moment, the mines were swallowed by silence. No drills, no lights, no commands. Then, a sound like thunder. A blinding flash tore through the tunnels. One of the power nodes exploded, lighting the walls blue. Shock waves raced through the mine. The Scaran guards shouted, their armor sparking as systems failed. Daniel Hale moved through the chaos like a ghost. His hands were steady, his breath calm. The small EMP devices he had built were finally doing their job, disabling the control collars, freezing the surveillance drones, cutting power to the guard towers. He pressed his communicator. Now, across the tunnels, Rhea and the others moved. They smashed open control panels, tore off their dead collars, and freed the others. The girls didn't scream this time. They moved fast, silent, angry. Chains dropped to the ground, not with despair, but with purpose. Daniel ran to the central corridor, leading Luna and a group of freed workers. He knew the Scaran would regroup soon. He could already hear their boots clanging against metal floors. "Stick to the plan," he shouted. "Follow the tunnels. Get to the surface." A plasma bolt struck the wall near him, sending sparks across his face. He turned and saw a Scaran guard raising another weapon. Daniel dove behind a crate, grabbed a loose pipe, and hurled it like a spear. The weapon clattered away. He lunged forward, striking the guard across the head. The alien fell with a guttural roar. "Dad!" Luna cried, running toward him. "I'm fine," he said, breathing hard. He grabbed her hand. "Go with Rhea. I'll catch up." She shook her head. "No." For a moment, Daniel hesitated, then smiled. "All right, stay close." All around them, the tunnels were turning into battlegrounds. Girls armed with mining tools fought back against guards twice their size. Sparks and smoke filled the air. Every sound echoed. Metal clashing, footsteps pounding, hearts racing. The Scaran were powerful, but they were not ready for this. Not ready for human rage, not ready for the fire that burns when freedom is within reach. In the main chamber, the great machine that powered the mines roared and shook. The energy inside it pulsed wildly, out of control. Daniel knew it wouldn't hold for long. He climbed up to the control deck, dodging debris. The alien symbols flashed red on the screens. Warnings blared in a sharp, metallic voice. Rhea appeared beside him, panting. "We can't hold them much longer." Daniel looked down at the machine, then at her. "We don't need to hold them, we just need to end it." Her eyes widened. "You're not thinking," he nodded. "Overload the core. It'll kill you." Daniel smiled faintly. "Maybe, but it'll save them." He began typing commands into the console, rerouting the power. The system resisted, throwing up alerts, but he kept going. Sweat ran down his face. Every few seconds, the ground shook harder. Rhea shouted orders below, guiding the others to the escape tunnels. Luna clung to the railing, shouting, "Dad, hurry!" "I'm coming," he called back. "Almost done." The lights flashed brighter and brighter, blue, then white, then almost blinding. The great machine screamed like a living thing. Suddenly, a massive Scaran commander stepped out of the smoke. The same one Daniel had fought before. Its armor was cracked, but its rage burned hotter than ever. "You think you can destroy my mine, human?" it roared. Daniel turned, his hand tightening on the baton. "Not just your mine," he said. "Your empire." They clashed, light against darkness, blue sparks against red fire. The commander's staff struck the floor, sending shockwaves through the deck. Daniel ducked, rolled, and swung the baton straight into the alien's neck. Electricity tore through its armor. The creature howled, but Daniel was too close to the control panel now. He slammed his hand onto the final override. "Goodbye," he whispered. The world erupted. A blinding wave of blue energy surged through the tunnels. The great machine exploded, sending shards of glowing crystal in every direction. The mines collapsed, the walls bursting with light. Rhea and the girls reached the surface just as the shock wave tore through the ground. They fell to their knees, shielding their faces from the explosion that painted the sky blue and gold. When the dust settled, only silence remained. Luna screamed, her father's name, her voice echoing across the barren land. But there was no answer, only the faint hum of dying machines and the wind whispering through the ruins. Rhea put a hand on Luna's shoulder. "He did it," she said softly. "He set us free." High above, the red moon hung still, glowing faintly over the shattered mines. And though Daniel Hale's body was gone, his fight, his courage, had lit something greater. For the first time in years, the slaves of Rhinora looked up and saw the stars. The explosion shook the world of Rhinora. For a moment, the sky turned white. The mines split apart and the sound of thunder rolled for miles across the barren land. Then silence. Only wind, dust, and the faint crackle of dying energy remained. Where the mines once stood, there was nothing but a smoking crater, a wound in the planet itself. Rhea coughed as she pushed herself up from the rocky ground. Her ears rang, her clothes were torn, and the taste of smoke filled her mouth. Around her, the freed girls lay scattered, bruised, tired, alive. They were free. But the cost of that freedom was heavy. Luna sat at the edge of the crater, her small hands clutching the dusty ground. Her hair was tangled, her face streaked with tears. She stared into the burning pit below, whispering again and again, "Dad, please, answer me." But there was nothing. No sound. No sign of movement. Rhea knelt beside her. "Luna," she said softly, "we have to move. The air here isn't safe." Luna shook her head. "He's still down there." Rhea looked at the smoke rising from the pit, blue, glowing faintly, like the dying breath of the crystals. "If anyone could survive that," she whispered, "it's him." Hours passed. The freed workers built a small camp near the edge of the desert. They shared water, wrapped wounds, and sat in silence. No one spoke of the man who had saved them. No one knew how to. Rhea stood watch as the second moon rose, its light soft and pale. She could still hear the explosion in her head. The roar, the flash, the moment the mines fell. It played again and again, like an echo trapped in her chest. Then she saw something move, far in the distance, near the smoke. A faint blue light. Her heart skipped. She turned to Luna. "Stay here," she said, grabbing her weapon. "I'll check it out." Luna jumped up. "I'm coming." Rhea hesitated, then nodded. Together, they walked back toward the ruins. The air was thick with dust and heat. Each step crunched over broken rock and shattered crystal. The blue light grew brighter as they got closer. It flickered like a heartbeat deep inside the crater. At the bottom, half buried in rubble, lay the great machine's core, cracked, but still glowing. And next to it, a figure, Daniel Hale. His body was covered in burns and dust. One arm was twisted beneath him, his clothes torn. But his chest, faintly, barely, moved. Luna cried out and ran forward. "Dad!" Rhea followed, kneeling beside him. She checked his pulse. It was weak, but there. "He's alive," she breathed. Daniel's eyes opened slowly. He looked at Luna, and a small smile touched his lips. "Told you. I'd find you," he whispered. Luna threw her arms around him, crying, "You did it, Dad. You saved everyone." He coughed, wincing. "Not everyone yet." His voice was faint, but calm. "The Scarran, they won't stop. This mine was just one of many." Rhea frowned. "You're saying there are others?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Hundreds on other worlds, the crystals. They're using them for something bigger." He pointed weakly at the machine core. "That thing. It's more than a power source. It connects to a network. If we can hack it, we can show the galaxy what they've done here." Rhea's eyes widened. "Expose them." Daniel's voice trembled. "End them." They worked through the night, scavenging parts from the ruined core. Daniel guided them, his engineering mind sharp despite the pain. Luna held a small lamp while Rhea connected wires and repaired panels. When they finished, Daniel pressed his hand against the interface. Blue lines of code appeared across the surface, glowing like veins of light. He closed his eyes, whispering, "For everyone they hurt, this is for you." Then he pressed the final command. The machine pulsed once, then sent a shock wave of light into the sky. High above Renora, the stars flickered as a message spread across the network of Scaran ships and colonies. Images of the mines, the slaves, the explosions, and Daniel Hale's face. The truth of Renora was no longer buried. As dawn broke, Daniel leaned back, his strength fading. Luna held his hand tightly. "Don't go," she whispered. He smiled weakly. "I'm not going anywhere. I'm right here." Rhea looked at him, her eyes full of respect. "You didn't just save them, Daniel. You changed everything." He looked up at the light rising through the clouds, a faint trace of blue glowing across the horizon. Then maybe humans still have a place in this galaxy after all. His eyes closed. The machine hummed softly, its glow fading with the sunrise. Luna didn't cry this time. She just held his hand and whispered, "You kept your promise." Above them, the dawn spread across Renora, a sky that had never seen light before. The mines were gone, the slaves were free. And for the first time, the planet breathed. But deep in the ruins below, the broken machine flickered once more, as if something or someone had awakened inside it. Morning came to Renora for the first time in centuries. The heavy clouds that had once covered the sky began to fade, burned away by the strange blue light that still shimmered from the ruins of the mines. The air, once filled with smoke and dust, now carried a quiet stillness and the kind that comes after a storm. The world was broken, scarred, but alive. And so were its people. On a small rise overlooking the crater, Luna sat wrapped in a blanket staring at the horizon. Her tiny hands held something, her father's necklace, a dull silver chain with a cracked crystal at its center. It glowed faintly, pulsing like a slow heartbeat. Behind her, the survivors worked together, building shelters, tending to the wounded, gathering food from old supply stations. For the first time, they didn't work as slaves. They worked as free people. Rhea walked over, carrying a small canteen of water. "You should drink," she said gently. Luna nodded but didn't move her eyes from the light on the horizon. "He's not gone," she whispered. Rhea looked down at her. "You saw him go still, Luna. You saw what he did." "I know," Luna said softly. "But he promised he wouldn't leave me. And I can still feel him." Rhea sighed. She didn't argue. The girl had lost too much to have her hope taken away too. By midday, something strange began to happen. The blue signal Daniel had sent from the mine core continued to spread, farther than anyone expected. Across the galaxy, screens flickered to life on starships, trading stations and colonies everywhere. People saw it, the images of Rhinora's mines, the faces of the enslaved, the cruelty of the Scaran, and one man standing against it all. A human. The video ended with Daniel's voice, faint but clear. "This is Rhinora. For years they hid what they did here. No more. If you see this, then stand. Don't let them bury the light again." The message spread like fire. In distant systems, miners dropped their tools. Refugees cried. Soldiers looked at one another in silence. The Scaran Empire had built its strength on fear. But now, fear was cracking. Back on Renora, the survivors gathered around an old radio tower Daniel had repaired days before the final battle. Its signal blinked weakly, once every few seconds. Rhea turned to Luna. "He said this tower could reach other planets. If anyone heard his message, they might come." Luna looked at the blinking light. "They will. Humans always come back for their own." Rhea smiled. "You sound like him." Luna looked down at the necklace again. The faint blue glow grew brighter. She frowned. "It's getting warm." The light pulsed faster. Then suddenly, a small hologram flickered to life above the crystal. It was Daniel. His figure was made of soft blue light, static around the edges. His face was tired but smiling. "Luna," the hologram said, "if you're seeing this, then I did it. The mines are gone and you're safe. I wanted to tell you something. Something I never got to say enough." Luna's eyes filled with tears. Dad, I'm proud of you, the hologram continued. You're stronger than I ever was. Keep going. Help them rebuild. Don't let the darkness take root again. The hologram flickered, glitching for a moment. Then Daniel's voice softened. And remember, the light isn't out. It's just changing shape. Sometimes it burns in the sky. Sometimes it burns in you. The image faded. The crystal went dark. Luna sat quietly, holding it close to her chest. The others stood in silence. For a long time, no one spoke. Then Rhea said softly, "He's still guiding us." Luna looked up, wiping her tears. "No," she said with a small smile. "He's still fighting." Weeks passed. The survivors built a new home from the remains of the mine. Small shelters, gardens, and clean water tanks. They called it Hale's Rest after the man who had given them their freedom. One evening, Rhea stood beside Luna at the edge of the camp. Above them, the stars glimmered brighter than ever. "Do you think anyone heard the message?" Rhea asked. Luna nodded. "They heard. I know they did." And far away, beyond Renora's orbit, a human ship drifted through the void, a long-forgotten rescue vessel that had once searched for survivors of Daniel Hale's crash. Its sensors blinked as it picked up the broadcast. "Signal detected," the computer said. "Human distress code confirmed." The ship turned toward Rhinora, engines igniting like twin suns. Back on the surface, Luna looked up at the stars one last time before going to sleep. She saw a faint streak of light moving across the sky, a shooting star, or maybe something more. She smiled. "See you soon, Dad." And for the first time in Renora's long, dark history, the night felt warm.